Mhm.
Hello, hi everybody. We are sorry for being a little bit late, but now we are ready to start. Please write in the chat plus if everything's okay with the sound, with the video. And while we are waiting a little bit, I'd like to present myself first, because I think you don't know me. My name is Helen, and I'm I'm manager of business development in the region of South America, and I work with Spanish-speaking clients, and I'm here with Dima. I think those of you who have ever watched our webinars for sure know him, our technical support manager. And I think that we can get started.
Yeah, I believe.
Yes. So we are continuing our technical webinars about configuration, installation, and use of our devices. And this time we are going to talk about wired devices, wired sensors with our GPS trackers, ADM333 and ADM007. We are going to follow the plan as previous webinar. So firstly, we will talk about configuration in our program of these devices. Then we'll move to the telematic platform, how everything is working there. And then we'll talk about installation and answer maybe some questions. Now I'm giving the floor to Dima, and I think we will speak about configuration.
I think before we can get to the configuration part, I'd like to make a little clarification about what we recommend you to do after you receive a tracking device or sensor or another equipment of any kind from the manufacturer, from the distributor, and so on. Basically, we always recommend everyone to test the equipment firstly, because transition, handling, and stuff like that, it's not it's not the moment that we are involved in. We cannot be fully sure that the device we are sending you will be the same as you receive it. Transport is not good. At one moment it may be very nice, and in another moment you can meet some issues, problems, and you can even receive damaged device. So hello Ashok. Firstly, please, after you receive our device, there is no video.
Is it possible?
I hope that it is not. You cannot see us, Ashok. Because I think that everything is nice in our side. And I think, yes, I think we can check it just in one moment. Let us make it. Yes, Shaka, I think that we are live and there is video. It's flowing fine, so I think we can continue. And if you have some issues, please check your Zoom. Maybe there is some setting that may affect this dimension and lead to this malfunction. Yes, come back to the theme. First of all, test your device after you receive it. Check the functionality of main features like interfaces, whether it's wired or wireless device. Um, Check the GSM and GPRS connection, satellite signal receiving, and stuff like that. Um, the next part will be about configuration. Yes. Now I think we can move to the ADM configurator. I hope you are familiar with it. And first of all, even in case of our wired tracking devices as ADM333 and ADM07, they also are configurable with wireless method via Bluetooth, but it's not Bluetooth 4.0 as in BLE devices, but it's the third version of Bluetooth. So we choose the suitable way, Bluetooth device connection mode, and put here last 4 digits of email. In our case, I will demonstrate here the configuration process of ADM333 because it's more complicated, it's more interesting. I hope at least will be more interesting for you. For our device, these 4 digits are actual 5493. You can see the connection process. Connection is established. We are reading device configuration, and here it is. You can see various information on your screen, like basic device information, firmware, device name, IMEI that will be required for server connection, crucial device features that are that device includes, like accelerometer, analog inputs, digital interfaces, voice connection. For instance, in case of ADM333, we have such option. Navigation data, server connection data, analog inputs voltage, and so on. Very big layer of information, of data. The next moment I think we should talk about is settings. There are 5 different tabs designed to make it more comfortable for you to set the device properly. You can change device name and password. These settings are common for all of our devices. Doesn't matter, is it the earliest one or the latest. SIM card settings, and here you can see the priority setting that becomes actual because of ADM333 design. This device contains of 2 SIM cards,
yes.
2 SIM holders. So you can put SIM cards of different cell phone operator, set it properly, and in case of one operator will not cover any area, the device will try to change SIM card and establish server connection with another.
And Dima, I see that there are, I think, Russian operators only. And what if, so the client is from other country, how he can add a new operator Does he
In
manually?
case, yes, in case of operator preset, you are fully free to contact us and send a requirement to add your cell phone operator in the preset, so it will be just easier for you to configure this part. Or you can make it manually, like just delete APN,
Okay.
login, password, and set here whenever you
Simple.
want. Yeah, like for instance.
Okay.
You also may leave login and password fields empty because there is no problem to work only with APN. We are familiar with such kind of cell phone operators and understand that not every of them use these fields. Don't be afraid. This scenario was managed, and we are ready for it. Also, as you can see, you may use SIM cards with the PIN code activated or deactivated.
Okay.
The next moment is server connection. You also can see here presets, hosting presets in this case. Neomatica, our test server, Violent, for instance, that was already chosen for our demonstration, and transmitting data blocks. This setting is really, really important to understand, to know, and for sure to use, because this one is responsible for what data you will receive on the server, and moreover, what data will tracking device save in its internal memory generally. For example, if you will not activate fuel data block, but you have fuel level sensors connected, you will not have this data on the server. You will lose it, and this is, I think, is not what you want. The result that will be inappropriate. So be very careful with this setting. Also, events. This alarm numbers list is responsible for driver and for example, for driver voice connection. Yeah, you can call it, or the driver may conduct call to communicate with anyone about, trips and so on, whenever you want. Also, track is useful, important, and actually pretty complicated thing. I think we can not talk about it much. Sorry. The most important moment you may see on your screen. And periphery. Yes, periphery is more interesting for us within this webinar, because we are talking about wired periphery, and ADM333 are equipped with the RS485 interface, one wire interface, two analog inputs, one discrete output, and, as you already know, Bluetooth model, Bluetooth 3.0. Here you can see analog input settings. You may use it as discrete. You may just utilize them to detect voltage. in case of analog sensors that you may find suitable for your project, or for ignition control. It is also possible and very popular, actually, scenario to use analog inputs. The next moment is output, a discrete output that generates a negative signal. You can use it for different periphery to control it. Here we have an example of the relay. The relay that you may connect to the discrete output and, for example, cut the engine, cut fuel pump, cut any electric circuit that you want to. Or you may connect some kind of buzzer or LED light to warn your driver about speeding event, because ADM333 contains of such possibility within the firmware of the last version. We added speeding control. RS485, digital interface, very flexible, very popular, and very common. Also, in this case, you can see fuel level sensors configuration. It's very easy, and I think you know how it can be done. We need to connect fuel sensor, we need to put right address, and be happy user. In our case, I think we have a fuel level sensor connected, fuel level sensor with the address equal to 1. I'm activating it because by default we have all 3 sensors deactivated. We can also, for sure, enable another. We can change fuel level sensor address and just wait device to send the request on which fuel level sensor will send the report with fuel level and temperature. Yeah, in our case, you can see that we are receiving now a fuel level equal to 1 unit and temperature of 23 degrees of Celsius. 1 unit, it's simple to describe why we have 1, because we have empty fuel tank. The sensor is not detecting anything at the moment. Also, you may add the calibration right in the tracking device. You may not use server or internal fuel level sensor calibration tables. You may make it there. And Bluetooth for headset. For headset, as we already said, to be online, to be able to communicate with with anyone you want to, allow driver to connect. And also we managed to work with one wire, and how it can be done when we are talking about ADM333. We have very simple commands that leads us to the result we want to have. Like OB temp 1, we send it and we can see that the sensor number 1 is responding with this temperature. That means that sensor is not sending us any data, or we cannot, for instance, ask them about this data. To make it happen, we need to configure the whole one-wire interface. To make it, we will use this command, owconfig 1. We are waiting, and yes, owconfig sensor 5. That means that one wire detected 5 sensors connected, 5 temperature sensors. In our case, it is DS18B20. And now we will make the very same request, OWTemp 0, for instance, and here we have temperature of the sensor number 0. Now we'll send OWTemp 1. In previous try gave us 100, 300, minus 300, and now it will, yes, 20.75 degrees above 0 in Celsius also. This is the temperature in the room. We are presenting you these wonderful features. The very same logic works if you want to disable temperature sensors OWConfig 0. It will erase everything. Also, one wire can be utilized for iButton connection. We also have this opportunity in ADM333. iButton is popular and I think pretty understandable identification system. You can use it instead of RFID cards, BLE tags, and stuff like that. If you want to just actualize, wired systems, I think iButton is a good decision, good solution for this. And yes, the last, I believe the last moment connected with wired periphery that I want to show you is RFID system that is manufactured by Niamatica and also supported within ADM devices. We will use commands. Again, ADM20, the command is the very same as the reader name, ADM20. We will put the first parameter. We will put the address we were set in the reader. It may be set manually. In this case, it's 5. And the regime also 5 that determines that the reader will work both with cards and RFID tags. Yes, we have the answer, ADM25, 5. Now, how we can understand that this whole system is working, what does it mean for us? We can make it through the server. And I think we will show you how it can be done in Violon.
And I'd like to, I think, make a kind of conclusion before we move to the platform. So we talked about this GPS tracker and how to configure it in the program. And so we can say now that we can use with this device many additional ones. So there could be temperature sensors, fuel level sensors, RFID system, then which I haven't mentioned. Then buy buttons we can use with it, and all type of sensors. I think they're not only temperature and fuel level ones, but
and for sure we are fully open for new integrations.
Yeah.
If we, for some reason, do not support this type of sensor you want to use, and you want to use it with our tracking devices, we'll be happy to support it, to make it work together.
Okay.
Yes, and yeah, here you see the very basic data that ADM333 sends to the server. Now I'll activate data blocks. In our case, it will be fuel. To see the fuel level sensors data, it will be con. For temperature sensors and ADM50 data, and let it be analog inputs also. In track tab, we see that the dynamic period and static period are 30 seconds. That means that the device will send data to the server every 30 seconds, but maybe we do not want to wait so much time. So I'll set it to 1:1 and go back to the violin. Yes, you can see that we have more data right now than we have before. And the first block, ADC, it is analog census data. ADC1 is analog input number 0, ADC2 is analog input number 1, ADC3 marks GSM signal quality in percents. So here we have 35%. ADC4 is temperature of the PC board, temperature inside the housing. So right now it's 31. Next big block is fuel level sensors data. Fuel 1, fuel 2, fuel 3, it is fuel level, current fuel level. You can see that fuel 2 field tells us 1. This is the same value that we detected in configurator. Temp2, temperature of the fuel sensor, is demonstrating the data of the 23 degrees of Celsius, and CAN fields, CAN 50 till CAN 54 consists of temperature sensors data. These values should be divided by 100. So basically it's 21.12, 20.62 and so on. 5 senses, as you could see in the configurator. And also CAN 59, CAN 60. It is the data from the reader from ADM20. CAN 59 is ADM21 tag identificator, so you could see how it was changing, because the reader detects various types of not various types, but different tags, like the tag with number 1, the tag with this big number, and tag with number 0. Also, number 0 may mark that there is no tag detected at the moment, because we are because we have data update of very impressive frequency. That means that we may not receive new data at the moment. And CAN 60, it is the card, the RFID card identificator. It's still the same through the whole row, because we are scanning the same card that put inside the reader. Card that may be utilized for driver identification as well as iButton. You may choose between these different solutions, the one that you may find more suitable for you. And yes, that's simple steps that I've shown you are basic moments for device configuration. For sure, there is some more struggles. Yes, I think even struggles and harsh moments about how to install this system, especially wired system, because it's at least for me much more complicated to compare to the wireless one. When we are talking about BLE sensors and BLE trackers, I find it much more comfortable and I think easy to work with them in the dimension of installation. Then we are discussing about wired devices. And I think we can...
I have a question.
Yes, sure.
Yes, I think that someone watching us can have this question as me, who, for example, is not familiar with this platform we are on. Well, is there a possibility to find somewhere the description of these fields? Because, for example, if I can't remember right now which one is for what, can I look somewhere to see? For example, you described that CAN 60 is for this and that. And where can the user find this information, which is for which field is what?
Yes, this information is yes, this information may be found in our manuals.
Yes.
Manuals that are located on our website, www.neomatica.com. You may choose between languages you will prefer. You may check them in Russian, for example, or in Spanish. But yes, we have 3 different types of manuals in 3 different languages. You may choose between any of them. And these manuals usually contains of all crucial and most important information. You may also, if you have some struggles in in your tries to understand what we are talking about, you may contact me, for example, with via the WhatsApp, via the email, and so on. I'll be happy to help you with our devices to make it as comfortable for you as possible. Yes, and the installation.
Yes.
The installation. We may tell you many things about how to install wired devices, wired sensors, because there are, I think, just enormous amount of features, important moments, crucial tips that will give you an opportunity to make it easier for you, to make it better, to make it more durable, and so on. But I think if we will start to tell you about them, it will last at least for 10 hours. And maybe this is not the time that you may spend hearing me, at least me. I think you may hear Elena for more. Yes, but the most important moments are common for all wired devices. First of all, try to use try not to install devices and cables in the areas where they can be damaged. It sounds very simple, it sounds like common thought, but sometimes we can forget about this. Avoid high temperatures, avoid strong magnetic fields, avoid some moving parts that may, even if in some unusual, in the most unusual situation, damage your cable, because this may appear. I think everyone knows how does it work, and that even the most unrealistic things sometimes happen. The very same logic works here. If you are afraid of this damage, if you are not sure that you can avoid these parts of installation of mounting, use use additional housing, plastic housing, even metal housing, to avoid this damage. If you cannot avoid these moving parts or hot areas or cold areas, for instance, it is also not the most suitable environment for wires at all. Do not use terminals. I think the connectors. Use the most tough connection method you have, because it's very easy for any wired connection to be damaged. This is the problem. We can improve it constantly, but it's still under some risks, under the pressure, under some harsh conditions, especially when we are talking about fuel level sensors. Try to protect them at any cost in this dimension. And also do not forget that these connections should be very long, that you are limited in your wires. The longer is the cable, the longer is the wire, the more chance that signal will be lost for some reason. Because I think you understand it, but I should mention it additionally. Even wide connections have their own coverage limits. For instance, when we are talking about one wire, it's hard to receive the data from the sensor that is mounted in the with the cable of 100 meters length. This sensor may lose data, and I think it will lose this data in 90% of cases. Also, be very careful with cables that you use. For instance, when we are talking about one wire again, here you can see the twisted pair that we used to demonstrate you. There are a lot of different cables that you also can use for connection. Choose the proper one. If you have some doubts, if you do not sure that you may choose it properly, do not hesitate to contact me, to contact any specialist whose thoughts, whose ideas and opinion you will find as important for you. There is nothing to be afraid of in this dimension. And yes, this part was dedicated to wired sensors when we are talking about our tracking devices. It's also, I think, almost the same tips, but for our devices, you also do not should not forget about satellite signal. That it's better to locate tracking device on the some open areas, open locations within the car. Please do not mount it under the dashboard, for example, or if you mount it under the dashboard, there is nothing. There is no problem for our device to detect satellite signal under the dashboard. Please do not mount it near the, some equipment with strong magnetic fields, that it will inevitably affect on the quality of satellite signal and GPS signal also. Always check the results of your installation after you make it, because it's the second very common and I thought easy to understand moment that I stress, that I that I told you about, but there are lots of cases where the integrators just put tracking device, move out, and found out that there is something wrong, that something doesn't work, that something works in an appropriate way. Please do not be such integrators. This will save your time, this will save your money, and your client, your partner, your partner respect. Yes. And what? Yes, and do not forget to use some tips, some diagnosis feature to work with our devices. You may always to check the status of the device on the server via the SMS, via the configurator. You may always understand, is there any jamming events, is there any GPS signal loss, is there any signal interference. We have these specific events, detection methods, and they will be transmitted to the server within the status field. Do not forget to use it, and I think that it will help you to save your time. It will lead you to the whole new understanding of tracking devices and how easy it may be to work with them, even with wired one that are more complicated, as I already said, at least for me. And I think that's all. Maybe you have something to add.
Well, I see that we don't have any questions.
Yes, I believe.
Yes, and I don't have them. I think that everything is pretty clear, and thank you, Dima, very much for this explanation. I hope that this webinar will be very useful for you when you use our devices, and you while watching it, you found some answers to your questions. And I think that it's always much easier to configure something or to work with something when you have video instruction. And so you can open it every time you want. We will save it, of course. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact us. As always, we are always ready to answer all the questions. And I think that that's all.
Yes. Thank you for your attention, for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone who visited us today. We were happy to work for you.